Welcome back to War Thunder and welcome aboard the Centurion Mark III with ATGMs at a higher battle rating, the Stridswagen 81. Now, to call it the Centurion Mark III with ATGMs is practically the perfect description, because that's what a Stridswagen 81 is. The same chassis, the same turret, the same gun handling, everything is the same. You have this 84mm 20 pounder OQF gun Mark I version with 65 rounds. You have access to APDS, which performs really great with a battle rating of 6.7. It has the same battle rating as the Carnarvon and the Tortoise, so now you have a full line 6.7 lineup, which is great, and the Centurion Mark III as backup. Furthermore, you have 3 of those Robot 52 SS1 ATGMs. You have 3 of them, and they are so far the only ATGMs that you can purchase for money. All other ATGMs are rank 5 and at least battle rating what are they, 8.0 or 8.3, and rightfully so. Now, what I want to show you now before we talk on is a datasheet of ATGMs. So you can stop the video right now and look at it for yourself, but I also wanted to talk a little bit about it. And you can see the Stridswagen 81 at the bottom, and you can see the different names, designations and so on, but what's really interesting is the penetration, which is 600 millimeters. 600 millimeters. That's more double than the penetration of the main armament, and it's practically an ATGM, which means it is a heat shell or a hollow charge. So you also have a very sensitive fuse, so you can't shoot through buildings, obstacles, trees and bushes because the fuse will go off. The downside on the Stridswagen 81 is you just have 3 of them. They are, together with the Raketenjagdpanzer II, the slowest ones with just 150 meters per second. But then you have those weird firing angles, much like on the swing fire. So the rockets fire a little bit upwards before then they level down, so to speak, and then you can actually adjust the rockets with the WASD keys, and that's because they are the first generation of ATGMs. Furthermore, you have a maximum firing range of 3 kilometers, which is kind of average for all ATGMs. Just the swing fire has 4 kilometers of range, and yeah, in this respect there is a little trick. If you have to fire the ATGM at close quarters situationally, you can go downhill and try to kind of use your gun elevation. Now, gun elevation is always something difficult because the scope in this respect is mounted to the gun itself, the 20 pounder. On other news, you have 20 degrees of gun elevation, so that's kind of nice, and then it takes much less time to level out the rockets. However, I kind of never use those ATGMs, to be honest, because there is never the situation. Now, I still have to get used to how to use ATGMs, and the first resume for me is that they are not fun to play, the pure ATGMs, but they suck out the fun for the other persons as well. And so I'm down to the 20 pounder, and I love the 20 pounder. Whatever you say about the 20 pounder, I love it, especially with APDS. Now, a few of you might remember when I called out other tanks like the M60, the M60A1, the Leopard series, the STB1, and also the Type 74. Practically all tanks with the L7 gun, that they are highly unreliable with the APDS, which has a higher caliber and also has more penetration with practically the stock round. That is true. On the other hand, the 20 pounder just kills whatever you fire at. I don't know what it is. I shoot at something and it works like advertised. This is the strength of the 20 pounder. In this respect, you then can raise the question, Napalm, if the ATGMs are relatively situational and difficult to handle, and you just have 3 of them because they don't reload, except maybe on a cap circle, I don't know. I haven't tested this. This is a first impressions after all, you know. So isn't it cheaper to just put a talisman on the Centurion Mark III? The simple answer is yes, it is. And you practically have a as good performing tank as on 0.3 or 0.4 lower battle rating. On other news, the Stridswagen is very unique, and you might use those ATGMs if, for example, your gun gets knocked out or you're immobilized and you're caught in a reload, or you just want to intimidate an enemy, because that is what the rockets are really about, intimidation. So many people just panic and the rocket takes a while, so they reverse into cover, especially when you face multiple enemies. I have had battles where multiple enemies were staring in my direction. I fired the ATGM roughly in their direction, targeted at one in the middle of the pack, and all of them retreated. Normally, you take your shot and then that's it, you're caught in the reload. But the ATGM stays in the air. This is not something you can pull off against an experienced or a cold-blooded player, but against a person that has never seen an ATGM on the battlefield or has heard rumors about high-tier ATGMs, might then lose its mind. Is that worth the money? Well, that's situational. The big downside is that you really kind of rely more and more on your team. You're still a medium tank after all, and despite what you saw up until this point, your armor is not very that dependable. Now normally I say things like, yeah, this tank is very similar to the Carnarvon. In fact, the Carnarvon has one redeeming factor, and that is the upper plate, which is thick enough to get not the interaction / the overmatch rule, so it even can pull off some bounces against even a Yak Tiger, which the Centurion Mark III cannot. The turret is more or less the same, and the gun is the same, and the mobility is overall also the same. Sometimes stuff like this happens where, you know, I'm sure I would have done so much more damage when I would have hit this guy with an APHE shell. But careful aiming brings you the results you want. And this is my 5th kill and my ace. Now I have to say, in my opinion, this tank is all about the 20-pounder. The ATGMs are more or less decoration. And that is good, because they don't act as external ammo racks. At least I have never ever managed to blow up the ATGMs on the side of a Stridswagen, and I also was never blown up that way. So I have to do a bit more testing to, you know, make sure that it is like that and it's not more or less a statistical oddity. However, you know, I'm quite confident that they don't act like on the, what's the name, the American Premium, the M26 T99s, because there the rockets, for some bizarre reason, work as external ammo racks, but they don't work on something like the Calliope or all other rocket tanks that I encountered so far. In this respect, yeah, you have an advantage that the ammunition does not blow up. However, your side armor is very weak, as we'll see in a moment here in the kill cam. Yeah, the IS-2 mod 1944. The caliber matters, because it just went through and exploded right there where it needed to explode to one-shot the entirety of the tank. I have no idea how this guy saw me there, but well played. And so I died and I lost the match, but I tried my best. The tank itself is fine, it works really nicely, and oh my god, another 7. Well played, Gaijin, well played. Let's just say at the point that I make the video, I don't have 8,000 golden eagles anymore. Yeah, 41,000 silver lions and 5,149 research points on a loss with a premium account with a premium tank without boosters, securing me first place in team with 1,964 score points for 2 capture zones and 5 kills. So that's the Stridswagen 81, practically a Centurion Mark III, same mobility, same armor, same firepower, plus some ATGMs for a 0.4 higher battle rating. Do I think this tank is worth the money? After the first impressions, I said there are tanks that are a worse investment, but I think that the tech tree version is as good as this tank effectively on the battlefield. I think I just have to practice more with the ATGMs. They certainly have the power to kill every enemy that you potentially can face, and they have the second highest penetration out of all ATGMs with 600 millimeters at any range, and you know, heat penetration values against sloped armor respectively. Just the Raketenjagdpanzer 2 Hot is in this respect with 800 millimeters stronger. Anyways, that's it for me today. Thanks for watching, thanks for listening. Let me know your opinion about this purchasable ATGM carrier and everything else that there is to know. I'm highly interested in your opinion. I hope you enjoyed the gameplay. If so, please give it a like, subscribe if you want to see more, and we will see each other on the battlefields of War Thunder.